Hello and welcome back to Actually Let's Talk About It with me, your host Lily, and today it is not a reaction. Nay, today it is not a reaction. Today I will be sharing my Ancestry DNA test results because since it is February in the United States of America, aka the States, we have a month dedicated to Black history. It's called Black History Month. And in this month of February, since I am a Black person, I thought, why don't I share with my subscribers and other people on the internet just how Black I actually am ethnically. And this is an estimate, so it may or may not be true. And I do have the results from Ancestry DNA, but I also have the results from my heritage DNA. So I paid for Ancestry DNA, I paid like $59 because I got it on sale last year. And I was waiting to share the results on this channel just in case they changed, because I do know that they said they update the results based on how many more people take the test. It just helps them better have a better and more accurate estimate of your ethnic background. So since October when I got the results, I believe it was October 15th or 16th. So since then I haven't seen any updates to my results. I'm like, yeah, it's been almost kind of over 3 months, so why not share them with everyone here? So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I believe like my first thoughts going into Ancestry DNA was like, okay, I'm just gonna take this test because I really want to take the African ancestry test, and that test is like $400, and it traces back like for women, and only for women, you can only take the matriarchal line test. So that will trace back a few millennia, which is 1,000 years back, thousands of years back. Millennia is 1,000 years, but it'll trace back thousands of years back to your mother's 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 mother, and you get it to about the time where your bloodline started. About an estimate. It's still, it's still kind of tricky. Science can only go so far, but that's what it does. So I'm like, before I pay this much for my test, let me just make sure, because I am African American, so due to certain things like colonialism and slavery, sometimes there are mixtures and different things mixed in that you were not expecting to be mixed in with the African because of those things. So I'm like, okay, let me make sure. I wasn't disappointed with the results, so that's all I have to say about that. And I will upload a separate video for my heritage DNA, and then I'll probably upload a third video just comparing the two and seeing how they differ. So my family's story is pretty brief. Everyone is Black. Let's just put it that way. So my mom, my biological dad, his family, everybody's Black. Mom, my mom's side, her mother, her father, their parents, their parents' parents, their parents' parents' parents, you get it, Black. So there's not anyone who identifies as not African American or Black on either side of my family. So I already knew going in I already knew, had high expectations that it's gonna predominantly say African nations. I already knew that. But there was a few surprises here, and we'll get into those in this video because it was interesting. I'll say that. It was interesting. And then there's also the rumor in the family that there's some indigenous blood there. And I was like, I don't know. So, but we'll see if that was true there. And so let's just get into it. I'm like kind of rambling at this point, but let's get into it. So let me start screen recording now though. Okay, so for my ethnicity estimates, it says your DNA looks most like DNA from these 13 world regions. Yes, I said 13. 13. And the first one that I knew in my bones, the very first one we see here is Nigeria. And I'm like, yep, we definitely. So 33% is Nigerian DNA. Your ethnicity estimate is 33%, but it can range from 22 to 40%. So yup. It says, our Nigeria region takes its name from the most populous country in Africa, where more than 168 million people live, in an area about twice the size of California. And I'm from California, so it is big. Nigeria big. In fact, Nigeria has six cities with populations over 1 million. The US of A has 9. So Nigeria popping. And it has more than 250 ethnic groups. So I'm gonna have to look. I'm still looking into which tribe or tribes, because it could be a mixture. My ancestors might have came from, but this is really cool. And then after Nigeria, we have Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu people. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So it's like taking parts of Western Africa and then Central Africa as well, because it has the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Central African Republic, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Angola, Rwanda, and Burundi. And Namibia. Okay, I see that. And they have Zambia and Malawi, but it's kind of grayed out. Okay. So that's 22%. So your ethnicity estimate is at 22%, but it can range from 14 to 31%. So that's really cool. So already between Nigeria and Cameroon, that is at 55% African already. And then we have 11% for Benin and Togo, which is cool. That's still Western Africa. So yeah, if you don't know about the transatlantic slave route, you would know that most of the people that they stole to fund that slave route were people that were stolen from various different tribes in Western Africa. So yeah, the more you know. And again, so that's 11%, it does say, but it can range from 1 to 17%. And then okay, but they do say that DNA is also found in Nigeria as well. Okay, so that's gonna be an important fact to remember for when I tell y'all the MyHeritage DNA results. And so already between Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu people, and Benin and Togo, it is at 66% African. And then we have Mali, which is 9%. Ooh. Again, Western African. Okay, and then so the ethnicity estimate is 9% for Mali, but it can range from 0 to 13. Okay, so it does say that Mali's borders were drawn in 1890 by the colonizers who came there. So they were drawn, and that was when French Sudan was created. And so that makes sense there. Okay, these man-made borders make our Mali region, a mix of diverse people. But geography has always played a key role in Mali's history and people. Oh, I see that. Okay. Trans-Saharan trade, it did connect Mali to Western Africa, with Europe and Asia, even in pre-colonial times. For centuries, Mali was a fabled land of gold, scholarship, and empires. Yes, I see that. And I just want to find out a little bit more, because I do believe the wealthiest man in the world, yes, I knew it, the wealthiest man in the world, it was Mansa Musa. He is the wealthiest man ever to have lived on this earth. That's how wealthy this man was. And it does say he lived between he had an epic Hajj between 1324 and 1312. So he was alive between the mid to late 1200s towards and into the 1300s. So, and this man was wealthy, and he was a king or emperor. King/emperor, I'm calling both. So yeah, I knew when I saw Mali, I was like, I know that Mansa Musa was over that land. So that's a fun fact in case you did not know that. And then, so we already got it was 66%, and now we're at 71%. So next up is Ivory Coast and Ghana, and that puts me at 78%. Really out here African and blackened, if you will. Anywho, so it does say my ethnicity estimate is 7%, but it can range from 0 to 17%. That is awesome. Okay. Oh, okay. So it received, they say French and Portuguese explorers, but let's call them what they were, colonizers, identified sections of the West African coast by the area's resources, which is how it got its name of Ivory Coast. You know, let's be for real, Ancestry. Don't sugarcoat that history. Don't sugarcoat it. Okay, so we're at 78%. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Am I calculating that correctly? Let me load. Okay. Is that all I think I am? 66. Yeah, I'm not calculating that correctly. That was 75. And then that's, yeah, I'm not calculating that correctly. Because between Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu people, and Benin and Togo, that's at 66. And then if we add Mali, that is at 75. And then if we add Ivory Coast and Ghana, that is at 82%. I don't know why I was saying 71. My brain. Okay, so we're at 82%. And then now we add Senegal, so that is 88% African. Okay, 88% Black here. And then let's get on to Senegal. So, also another Western African country. I love that. Okay. Okay, cool. I see that. Let me see something. Okay. It's bordered by Mauritania, Mali, Guinea, and Guinea-Bissau, and also completely encircles the Gambia. Okay, I see it. Senegal, though, I like that. Okay, so it is 88% African, Black, yes, and we're gonna keep it moving. And then let me see something here. Okay, now we're going into the European, aka the European countries here. We got 5% from Wales, also found in England. It can range from 0 to 6%. Yeah, we're not going to dwell too much on that. And then we got Ireland coming in at 2%. That is very cute. It can range from 0 to 3%. Alrighty then. And then we have Northern African, primarily located in Algeria, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, Niger, Tunisia, and Western Sahara, also found in Cape Verde. Okay, and so we got a ethnicity estimate is 1%, but it can range from 0 to 2%. Okay, that's really cool. I like that. So now it's 89% African. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's 89% African because Northern African is still considered African. So 89% is on the continent of Africa. And then we have 1% coming through for the Indigenous Americas, Mexico. Okay. So it has been a rumor in my family that we have Indigenous ancestry, and this is proving the rumor to be correct. So it does say from the Indigenous Americas in Cuba and Nicaragua. So we are on it. So your ethnicity estimate is 1%, but it can range from 0 to 2%. And that is really cool. So it does say our Indigenous Americas Mexico region extends from the southern west United States down to the border of Guatemala. Known for their large ceremonial centers, mathematical expertise, and intricate calendars, the fierce warrior culture of the Aztecs called this area home and built their capital where Mexico City now stands. In the northern part of the region, sedentary tribes such as the Hopi became expert farmers and grew squash, corn, and beans in their desert environment. Okay. Despite their harsh surroundings, the indigenous peoples of this region created a rich legacy of art, science, and survival. Alrighty then, let's get into that. And then, it's back. Okay, it's back to the European side. We got Norway coming in at a whopping 1%. And then we have Germanic Europe. What is that? I don't really know. Okay, I don't know what Ancestry was on when they thought of this, but why can't they just say Germany? Like, I don't get what Germanic Europe even means. So 1% there. We're not going to get too deep into that because I think that's a fit, like a kind of not like a fake thing, but they should just say German. Like they could just do that. And then we have Basque, which is 1%, and they're found in Spain. And the Basque people have long been shrouded in mystery, I guess. So I guess the Basque people are indigenous people before, like the people who are living in Spain currently. There was this ethnic group of people. So they're on the borderlands between Spain and France, and that's where they've always been. They don't have an actual country, and not much is known about them other than the fact that they have an ancient people. And I guess their culture is defined not by borders, but by just being Basque people. So that is also interesting. So that's pretty much it. So we have 88% being African Black, and then 1% being Northern African, so total is 89% African. And then we have it with 5% from Wales, and then 2% from Ireland, 1% from Norway, so we're at 8. Germanic Europe, 9, and Basque might be considered 10% European. Okay, and I don't really have any feelings about the European side. Like I'm really excited about finding out more about the African and the Northern African side and the Indigenous side. But as for the European, just because of how it most likely came into my bloodline, I don't really have an interest in learning more about it. And I'm gonna just leave it there just because of how, and if you don't understand what that means, then I would implore you to research American history, and specifically American slave history, where enslaved Black people were owned by European American slave masters, and the things that those slave masters did against those people, and the children that came up from those violations. And then you will understand why I'm not enthusiastic about the European side. I know where it came from, I know how it got into the bloodline, and it's not something that I would be proud of or happy about, because I know what that means for one of my ancestors, and I'm not happy about that. So I'm gonna just leave that there. And then outside of that, they do have an ethnicity inheritance. Okay, an ethnicity inheritance. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, Capital One, why are you here? Okay, okay then, so it basically breaks down how much you got from each parent, and it has the maternal and the paternal sides, and that's what I nicknamed them. I got so much DNA from, in terms of Nigeria, I got a lot from both parents. So from my mom, I got 12. From my biological dad, I got 21. So that created the total of 33%. And then in terms of Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu peoples, again, from my mom, I got 13%. And then from my biological dad, I got 9%. And that created a total of 22%. And then for Benin and Togo, I got 9% from my mom, and I got from my biological dad 2%. And for me, that was 11% in total. And then for Mali, I got 3% from my mom and 6% from my biological dad, and so that is 9% in me. And then for Ivory Coast and Ghana, I got 5% from my mom, got 2% from my biological dad, and so that is 7% in me. And then for Senegal, I got 4% from my mom, and I got 2% from my biological dad, so that is 6% in me. And then for Wales, I got 0% from my mom, and I got 5% from my biological dad, so that's the result of the 5% me. And then for Ireland, I got 1% from my mom, 1% from my biological dad, so that's 2% for me. And then for Northern Africa, 0% came from my mom's line, and 1% came from my biological dad's side, so that's 1% in me. And then for Indigenous Americas Mexico, I got 1% from my mom, and I got 0% from my biological dad, so that's why I have 1% of the Indigenous Americas Mexico. And then for Norway, I got 1% from my mom, and then I got 0% from my biological dad. So 1% in me. And then for Germanic Europe, I got 0% from my mom, and I got 1% from my biological dad, so that's 1% in me. And then for Basque, I got 1% from my mom, I got 0% from my biological dad, so that is why there's 1% in me. So that's interesting. So it looks like most of the European in me comes from my biological dad's side. So I'm not really sure about his side of the family, just because, you know, we don't talk like that. You know, just leave it there. We don't talk like that. But it looks like 7% of the 10% of European that was in my ancestry results came from his side of the family. So I do know that there was an article that I was reading, and I hope I can find it. But in terms of genetics, it does show that men can sometimes have, like I do know for certain genetic tests, men could do both the matriarchal and the patriarchal line. And I do know that what that means in men is that these DNA, like for the European DNA that's there, it just means that there was a father's father kind of a thing, where that father's father, it could be going back to the third great grandfather or the fourth great grandfather in his case, was most likely a European man. And so if we're going back in history, for America's history, that could mean that that man could have been a slave owner. And that's why it's still prevalent in the men, in the bloodline, even though it's so far removed, just because it's a part of that patriarchal line. So I'm like, I've heard that that is a reason why certain, like, it's just like a haplogroup kind of a thing, why it can sometimes stay with men a little bit longer than it does with women, especially if the father's father happened to have been that slave owner. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense there. And then they also have like a chromosome painter, and I think that's pretty cool. So we're gonna look at it just briefly. We're not gonna look at it too deeply. We're just gonna look at it kind of briefly. And so for Nigeria, oh yes, it's in dang near every chromosome I have. Dang near. It shows up everywhere. It is lit up like a Christmas tree for Nigeria. Like, it is prevalent in the bloodline. That is such a great thing. I love that. And then Cameroon, prevalent. It's lit up too. Not as much, but it's lit up. And then Benin and Togo, not as much, but it's still kind of lit up. That's pretty cool. And then for Mali, let's see how much. Okay, it's significant still. And then for Ivory Coast and Ghana, let's see that. Okay, it's pretty lit. It's in a few of them chromosomes there. And then for Senegal, let's see. Okay, it's pretty lit for Senegal too. Awesome. And then for Wales, we'll see. Oh, okay, yeah, like that's showing up quite a bit. Yeah, okay. And then for Ireland, not as much, but still quite a bit. And then Northern Africa, oh, it's literally just at 1. Okay, wow. And then Indigenous Americas, Mexico, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that makes sense. And then for Norway, 2, it shows up twice. Okay, and then for Germanic Europe, whatever that means, it shows up twice too. Okay, and then for Basque, it shows up 3 times, yeah. Okay. And they also have portions that are not tested. Like, some locations of the DNA are hard to read, mostly at the edges and very center. So they don't test those for ethnicity. So just in case y'all were wondering about what the gray areas meant, that just means it was not tested. And I don't have any, oh, I do have one unassigned area. Okay, so I do have one unassigned area, but I have, like, at the edges, you'll see the grayed out on some of them. And then unassigned, when you have a very small amount of DNA for a region, less than 0.5%, we don't report that ethnicity. This is not because there's not enough DNA involved for us. Oh, this is because there's not enough DNA involved for us to label it confidently. Okay, so that is interesting. That is really cool. So we got to see that. And so 13 world regions, 89% from Africa, 1% from the Indigenous Americas, Mexico, and 10% from Europe. So all in all, I'm pretty black. So I'm like, I like that. I love that. So it's really cool. It's just affirming what I already knew, confirming what I already knew. And it's really cool. I think I would encourage anybody who's, especially African American people who are looking for that sense of like belonging, because sometimes the way that Black history is not taught in schools, you have to go out and research it yourself. And the way that our ancestry, sometimes there's a lot of holes and gaps just because sometimes there weren't accurate records of our ancestors for a certain amount of time, especially when it was in slavery times. You have to do a lot of in-depth, you have to spend a lot of money. And I think that this, especially when Ancestry.com has a sale, is a good time to just at least figure out what the ethnic estimate is, what your ethnicity estimate is. So you can go forward from there depending on what you want to know and things like that. So I think that it's a good starting point. And if you want to get into it, I do recommend getting into it, especially in Black History Month. Like, it's important to know where you come from, and this is a good start. So I did wonders for me. Like, I know when I first got my results, I shared them with my mom and my sister. And, it was really cool to see, especially because, just to confirm what I already knew. I was like, I knew I was Black. And then I'm like, yeah. And then the ethnicity estimate just confirming that. I'm like, I'm so happy to be African American / Black. It's truly a gift and a beautiful thing. There's so much wonderfulness and genius in our people. And it's wonderful to just have the proof that that's where you are from. Predominantly where you are from and who is making you, what made you. And it's really awesome to see how much Blackness is in me. That's what I love. I love to see that. So, that's all I gotta say. That's pretty much it of this video. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also to comment if you've ever taken an Ancestry DNA test or MyHeritage DNA test or 23andMe, or maybe if you've taken the African Ancestry test, what tribe did you get? So comment below if you've done any of those things. And until the next video, and the next DNA video I hope will come out soon, it'll be for MyHeritage DNA. You'll get to see those results. And I'm recording these in the same day, so I will have the same ensemble on. Okay, just letting y'all know. But yes, I will be back with the other part of this video, which will be the MyHeritage DNA. So look out for that and subscribe. Yeah, do that, subscribe. Yeah, that's all I really gotta say. So, take care of yourself and love on yourself. And don't ever let anybody stop you from achieving your goals, even if they seem crazy. A lot of things seem crazy in terms of, especially as Black people, for our ancestors, that they were thinking about doing, but they still did them. And, look at where we are today, especially in terms of African Americans. So, anytime you think that, oh, this is crazy, it might never happen, take your shot. Shoot your shot, because it's not even like the worst outcome, but like an outcome is that you don't succeed, but that doesn't mean that you should stop trying. That doesn't mean you should stop trying at all. It just means replan, reevaluate, and retry. But I'm done with my little motivational pep talks. I'm good. And also don't forget to subscribe. Yeah. Anywho, I will see y'all in the new episode. I'll see y'all in the next video. Until next time though, y'all.